Hey guys, Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex. I have a couple of sheaths to show you today, and these are going to Dan down in Reno, Pennsylvania. So Dan ordered one auto deploy locking belt sheath for his paramilitary 2. On both these projects, he left the colors up to me. He just said he likes things like greens and browns and tans, sort of earthy woodland colors. So I chose for this one chocolate brown with OD green. I think that's a really nice color combo there. And this thing came out really nice. So he actually has, this is my PM2. This is like the super standard version. His has the brass flytanium scales on them. I've only done 2 projects before that used the flytanium, and I had both of those customers send their knives to me. But the flytanium scales are produced at the tolerances must be so fine on those because they fit. They're interchangeable with the regular G10 scales like this has. So I told him I would just use mine. He didn't have to send his to me. So you can see it rides on a tech lock. It is kicked outward this way at a slight angle, although you can adjust the cant if you run the tech lock this hole here and the first hole, the one that's open here at the top, it would put it perfectly vertical like that. So you do have the cant options. This is how I prefer it because as it sits on your hip, it's more comfortable to draw this way than it is to try to draw straight down, especially where it's this low. You know, trying to push straight down, it's just kind of difficult to do. So then he went. You can see this works really smoothly, and of course it has the famous tie tactical locking mechanism on there. Just so you guys know, Tie Tactical, TIE Tactical, Kevin Robinson, owner and creator, he invented this design, this mechanism that allows you to lock that knife in place. Of course, with enough pressure, you can definitely overcome the lock, but it's difficult to do. So he gave me personally permission to use his design in my work. So I just try to give a shout out to him every time I do a video that has anything featuring that design in there. That's his creation, not mine. So anyway, that's what we got here. When you need to use your knife, you just push that lock so that it spreads the 2 layers apart, and then you can draw your knife out. And then when you want to lock it back up, it's as simple as pushing that back layer and pulling that front layer, and it closes them in like so. All right, so there we go. PM2 locking belt sheath. The next item, the last item I should say, is a piggyback system for a couple of Koch knives. Koch, if you guys aren't familiar. I had never actually seen one until Dan contacted me and I started looking up some of the stuff. They have some really cool designs. This is very reminiscent of Spyderco. I don't know if there's any affiliation there, but not just because it has the holes, but if you guys have seen some of Spyderco's fixed blade, they do a lot of, this sort of shape. They're folders too. So there's this guy. I don't know what the models are on these. I just know they're developed, produced by Koch. So no idea on the blade steel, handle materials, anything like that. This feels like, I want to say that's G10 or maybe natural micarta. I'm not sure. Anyway, Dan, maybe you could comment down below. Give us some information on these 2 knives. Make, model. Well, we know the make, but tell us the models, the materials that are used here. I think probably the viewers are curious to know. This guy in particular, I think, is a really great knife. Really cool. No idea. Blade steel might not be great. Who knows? I assume it is, just based on the craftsmanship and everything. It feels like a lot went into this. So anyway, I'm sort of rambling now, as I am wont to do. But all right, so we got these 2, and then Koch also makes this. I don't know what else it does, but it's also a bottle opener. So, oh, it's knuckles. That's what it is. So you can use these as sort of brass knuckles and as a bottle opener. All right. So Dan sent me a leather patch, a Koch logo patch, and he asked if I could incorporate it into the design. He asked again, me to choose the colors, earthy, tan, green, all that stuff. And he wanted this piggyback system with those 3 items to ride as a scout carry on a tech lock. So this is what I came up with. This is really different from the norm. So I'm a little bit excited to see his feedback from this, and to get your guys' thoughts down below. I know it looks a little bit funky, but let me. I think once you see it all in action, maybe it'll make a little more sense. Obviously, this is the face of it, and that patch there, it came with sewing holes in it. So what I did was I actually bonded the leather to the Kydex here using barge infinity adhesive. It's really, really rugged, super strong stuff. So I did that. I tacked it, is what it's called. I tacked the patch to the Kydex using the adhesive, and then I actually used a really tiny drill bit and just used the holes that already existed as a stencil to poke through, and I've sewn through this tan layer here. You can see that stitching going through. So that's got really thick waxed thread, sewn that patch into place. So that thing is on there pretty much for life. I don't think it's gonna come. It's definitely not just gonna come off by any. I mean, you'd have to intentionally rip this thing off for it to come off at this point. So, and even then, it's not going to be easy to do. This thing is on there. So we got that. All right, let's just let's plug everything in. I'm kind of rambling. I don't really feel very focused right now, so probably be best just to show you guys. Okay. So, all right, so this is the back side. Tech-Lock connects to the belt. I did think about the fact that this is going to add some space and make it difficult for the belt. So if you see, I put some thicker spacers there on the Tech-Lock just to make sure that the belt does have clearance. It's going to be able to come out and come across instead of run into the holder for that. These we'll just call them knuckles. These knuckles. So you do have clearance there on the belt. When you do want to use these guys, you can see I've cut this little saddle into it so you can reach your finger in there and just pry it out. The reason I didn't put the saddle centered on the hole itself is because this is a 4-way holder. This clicks into place. It's very secure. At the same time, it's not that hard to draw, and you can turn this guy 180 degrees in either direction. So really, you can put it in 4 different ways. The only thing I'll caution you on is it is a narrow corridor from side to side. So if you have this thing tilted even just a little bit, you can wedge it in there and it makes it difficult to seat it in place. So I'll show you what I mean. So you got to be really careful to make sure you tip the center straight up and down. Nothing bad's going to happen. You might get it stuck and have to just use a little manpower to pull it out, but obviously it can only really fit in perfectly this way. So make sure you do that. And on both sides, it's got this little finger groove. So I just think of that as being the center of the top. And if you push it straight down, it always works. It's really comfortable to use. I don't honestly know how or why this has such a good click in, or why the retention on it is just so good, but this is a really square cavern. I have not molded into any of the grooves or contours of this particular tool. I literally just measured the outer parameters of it, and then I cut a rectangular piece of craft wood that I used as the molding prop to make this little holder. So it really worked out nicely. I'm glad I did what I did to get that effect. So, all right, that's what we got there. With the little folder here, the idea, I think, in my head is that because it already has this lanyard on it, that's going to be the perfect way to draw it. Obviously, there's not a lot of handle to grip onto. I mean, my one finger is almost wider than, or almost as wide as the length of this handle. So I'm thinking maybe you just grab that little lanyard and give it a little pull. It does come out really nice. It's got a snappy little draw as well as resheathing. When you resheath it, you can see it's got that little rhino horn sticking off the end there, the flipper, if you will. So just make sure you try to line that flipper up, and it's not the easiest to put back in. I'll be honest with you. It's you kind of got to just tweak it a little bit. You'll find what works for you. And of course, this is going to be behind the back. So as you're drawing it, as I'm reaching around my back, I'll be trying to do this to it. That's essentially what you're looking at. Just be careful. One other thing, when you put this back into the sheath, be careful that you don't hit that flipper and accidentally open the blade and expose your fingers to that potential threat there. So there's that. Lastly, we have the bigger fixed blade here, and this guy's just straightforward. It does have a super pointy tip. That guy can get wedged. It tapers out. You look at the top. So the end of this is just a stabbing machine. But because of that, you got to watch out that you don't have it tilted up or down, or you'll kind of wedge it. You'll find spots where you accidentally wedge it into the fold of the Kydex. So I haven't actually had it happen. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to put it in wrong. There we go. If you have the tip tilted down, you're going to wedge the blade. So anyway, I think it's pretty straightforward. Doesn't really need instructions, but this thing came out really great. I'm super happy with it, and I think the colors are really cool together. I wanted to make sure that the Kydex color didn't clash at all with this patch. I think this is just a really slick looking thing, and it's very unique. I haven't done anything quite like this. So I'd love your opinions down below. Tell me what you think, and maybe this would be a good time to bring up that I've actually been thinking about. I haven't done it. I think I've had the idea in my head for like 2 years now, but having name tape and morale patches and things like that, being able to sew those directly to the Kydex, or use the material that the adhesive that I use to bond it directly to the Kydex, something like that. So if you guys are interested in seeing more of this kind of thing, or ordering something like that, let me know, so I can maybe that would give me the motivation to do a test run with something on my own knives with my own name patches and whatnot. So yeah, anyway, that would give me a good idea of how to do it in the future for you guys. So all right, guys, I'm sorry for so much rambling. Like I said, I just don't feel very focused right now, so I'm all over the place. But in any event, if you like these sheaths, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you like the channel, subscribe. Comment down below. Tell me what you think of all this stuff, the morale, or the logo patch, morale patch, name tape, all that good stuff, and what you think of these knives from Koch. Dan, if you watch this, brother, please comment down below. Let us know a little bit more on the specs on these things. Particularly, I'm curious about the model names and the blade steel. That's what I want to know. But anybody else, comment down below. Maybe Dan will see your comment and respond if you guys have questions about the actual gear that you're seeing here. I don't know anything about it. So, all right, guys, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you for sticking around and dealing with 13 minutes of my aimless rambling, and I hope to see you in the next one. God bless.